Cool. Yeah. So I head up the growth team over at Plex, which is a free streaming platform. We also have features that help you aggregate all of your content across the entire streaming universe. So building a watch list that includes your Netflix content, your Hulu content, plus we also host our own content. We've seen some really good growth. I head up, the growth team over here, SEO and ASO, email and push, like lifecycle strategy and paid media, manage the entire paid media and acquisition marketing budget as well. So I think for us, really kind of coming into the year, and it's even accelerated a bit more, it's been actually like tightening the number of campaigns and strategies that we're executing against at one time. A little bit less of an appetite for just testing and iterating super quickly, and more just testing within the channels and platforms that we know are working really well for us. Been super focused on that. I think also retention is just such a big one. Retention has always been a huge KPI for us, and always looking to improve that. But I think where we're at now, right, like marketing budgets aren't necessarily expanding, but our revenue goals are expanding. So it's how do you kind of balance that? And I think it has to be retention and churn reduction, and kind of just executing against that and being super rabid and testing and iterating more so on that side, rather than just focusing on acquiring new users, filling up that funnel, which I think a lot of businesses were super focused on the last few years, where it was just growth at all costs, keep bringing in new users. Now it's like, do you have a sustainable business? Are your users returning time and again and enjoying your app? So that's where my team's been super focused on, from the paid media side, but also our website strategy, our app store presence, retargeting campaigns, and all of those sorts of things. So I think just being more diligent about where you're kind of placing your bets, and kind of a little bit less testing, a little bit more doubling down on what you know is working and what's bringing in those high value users. Yeah, I think, last year we were spending, most of our budget on acquisition, and we've gotten into closer to like a 60-40 split this year, where we're really kind of doubling down on retention, and we're looking to scale that a bit more. I think we're still kind of learning the metrics, understanding which creative and which messaging is working to kind of re-engage and retarget people from a paid media and budget perspective. But it's something we've scaled up a ton, and that was really a big initiative for us kind of heading into this year. I think a unique thing about our app too is it's a free to use app, and we're fully ad supported. So that engagement and retention is crucial for revenue and lifetime value and all of those key metrics that we're looking at. So yeah, we've definitely really doubled down on retention and retargeting campaigns from a paid media perspective, and probably 3x year over year our budget for retargeting. 100%. I think, we can make small improvements to our, acquisition costs, but I think the days of like big gains there are kind of behind us, at least in the short term. I think, Facebook costs, we know Google costs are kind of like, we're not seeing quite the same demand as we saw during the pandemic when everybody was home. So I think you kind of couple that with the economic sort of situation that we're in right now. For me, it's, how do you extract the most amount of revenue and time spent from the users that you have? And that's the way that we need to win right now. It's building that community, building the brand. I think the brand messaging is super important right now. Those things that don't necessarily cost money up front from an acquisition cost, kind of those things more down the funnel, are very important as well, just from a messaging strategy perspective. But 100%, like acquisition costs are not where I'm seeing the opportunity right now. Where I'm seeing the opportunity is growing revenue and reducing churn. Yeah, I think for us, so the interesting part about our business is Android is a little bit of a better channel for us, even kind of, taking a step back and looking beyond just the iOS 14 stuff. Android for us is a little bit of a better channel. As a free app, we've kind of done better with that audience. They tend to be more open to using a free streaming app. They're less likely to have, Netflix, HBO, like all those different subscriptions, whereas an iOS user tends to be a little bit higher income sometimes and more willing to kind of subscribe to those services. So for us, the retargeting strategy has been really focused on the Android side of things. I think iOS is something we're still trying to figure out. We do some campaigns there. The measurement obviously is much trickier. just retargeting our website traffic's trickier there from an iOS perspective too. So yeah, we've been super focused on Android, getting that right. And I think a big initiative for us kind of going into the rest of this year is once we feel like we have the formula down, which is kind of a always on process, learning more about what it takes, because you start spending too much, right? And then retargeting doesn't make sense at a certain point when you start, paying 3 or 4x what you paid to acquire them to just keep the re-engagement funnel going. So we're still figuring out that formula. I think figuring out that formula is crucial. Once I feel like that's in a good place, then it's time to kind of figure out iOS strategy. But yeah, for us, that's a big challenge and something that's super top of mind for me, but we haven't fully dove into it yet. I think where we're kind of at now, it's like, the must-have stuff is what we're keeping. The nice-to-have tools that, maybe were in the tool belt the past few years, those are the ones we're a little bit more okay with kind of cutting loose. We had some, app intelligence tools that we used to kind of spy on competitors and things like that we used, but weren't really fundamental or crucial to business growth. So I think those types of tools, it's a good time to kind of look at your tech stack and your marketing stack and see like, what are the things you're using every day to make key decisions, and what are the things that, on a Friday afternoon, you're maybe poking into for a few hours or a few minutes, just to kind of see what's going on and aren't necessarily like crucial to driving your business. I think a lot of marketing stacks got a little bloated during the last 5 to 6 years. And I've seen that, and I'm sure it's even worse at some of the bigger companies I used to be at. They were just like, they're continually adding stuff, right? Over time, but the tools that you do use are sometimes not always needed. I think AppsFlyer for us has been a crucial partner, specifically on the CTV side of things. So this is a little bit different than probably some of the other partners you've talked to, but for us, Roku and Amazon Fire TV are huge acquisition and retargeting channels. And you guys have recently rolled out some stuff that has made measuring that a lot easier for us. Those device partners are even more of a black box than iOS, if you can even believe that. So getting some attribution and some really good data from the AppsFlyer dashboards has been really crucial there, and what is working. And that's something we're laser focused on, right? Making sure we're reporting properly. And it's even more crucial now when every dollar counts a little bit more than I think it used to. Yeah, our team we've kind of stayed the course from where we were last year. So we're the growth marketing team. There's 4 of us. We're kind of like a lean and mean team that do a lot. There's a paid media manager who's buying all of our media, SEO and ASO, which has actually become an even more crucial part of our strategy this year. We've really been focusing on how can we increase our website traffic? How can we get more of those visitors to download the app? How can we get more of them to register an account, experience the product for the first time? So that's been a huge one for us. We've seen some pretty good progress with our organic app store traffic as well, working with GummyQ, which is a really good partner for us. They help us optimize all of our keywords, our artwork. That I think is crucial, focusing on conversion rates in the App Store, just because those are the things you need to improve to continue to scale if you're not going to just be throwing more money into it, right? Like that's really just a simple math equation at the end of the day. Improve your conversion rate, improve your organic traffic. Yeah, I think the payback period's always been super top of mind for us. I think we're kind of unique in the sense that definitely like the declines we've seen in the ad market from like a CPM perspective on CTV and mobile have definitely impacted our payback periods and made them a little bit longer. Our time spent and our retention has improved, but as kind of like the entire streaming and entertainment market is seeing right now, like monetization's just down a little bit because there's a little less ad demand. So that's definitely impacted our payback period. And I think for us, we're always focused on driving revenue up. But for us, it's like also really focusing on those other key metrics, the time spent metrics, the registration metrics. So that's an interesting one for us as well. There's a lot of anonymous traffic that we do get, and that reduces a lot of friction in our conversion funnel. But a thing we really want to focus on is registering more of our users, having them build an account, having them, interact with our newer features, which is like that Discover feature I mentioned earlier on the call, which allows users to aggregate all of their content across streaming. So getting them to use those more down funnel sticky features is super top of mind as well. And kind of, continuing to push users down the funnel, I think is really important. rather than just those quick hits of revenue that you may get from like a first user interaction. It's really how do you build that relationship over time is what we're more focused on. So the revenue is super important and we need to keep pushing that up. And it's a push-pull thing that my team is always kind of trying to balance, like how much should we just be focusing on those quick hits of revenue versus building the relationship with the customer. And those aren't always 100% related. They can sometimes be two different strategies. And I think for me, it's really about just being focused on that retention piece and building that longer term relationship, and the revenue will come. Yeah, I think for both, it's kind of an obvious one, but like Facebook just continues to be such a powerful platform for us, just from the targeting perspective. We're able to optimize better for our down funnel metrics on Facebook. So our upfront costs tend to be a little bit higher, but we see way better retention typically from that audience. Obviously kind of like the Google UAC campaigns, which, you know, everyone's always running. And then we've been testing a little bit more on YouTube with some retargeting strategies and actually seeing some pretty good success there. So trying to kind of build up that frequency with video ads and bumper ads and things like that. So kind of layered that into the mix as well. And then like I kind of mentioned, a big component of our marketing strategy is the CTV space. So running campaigns on Amazon Fire TV, Roku. I think that's also a good place for other app marketers to get involved, even if they're not a streaming or entertainment app. I think CPMs are kind of down a little bit on CTV, and it's a good time to get some scale, particularly with remarketing audiences. And we've seen some higher retention for users who are like exposed to multiple units across CTV and mobile. I think for us it is performing even better, but it's kind of a unique thing for our business again, because we make a little bit more money off of those users because there's higher CPMs for TV inventory than there is for like mobile ad inventory. Again, we're like a fully ad supported app, so there's more appetite from advertisers to want to buy ads on a TV screen versus a mobile app. But the other piece of that equation, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, is we want to build the customer relationship. And when someone comes in through a Roku or a Fire TV, they're kind of owning that customer relationship a little bit more than we would like. Whereas if they're coming through our mobile app, we get more user data. There's a little bit better functionality for some of the newer features we've rolled out around aggregating content across streaming services. We get more users to register on mobile because it's just an easier process to kind of put in your account information. So we see mobile as a really important channel for us. It's like kind of crucial for building up like that middle funnel and re-engagement strategy. Kind of how do we position Plex as like almost like a next generation or remote, a place that you can look to find new content. And we feel like the mobile app is a great place to do that. So yeah, from a revenue perspective, the TV screen stuff is always going to perform better for us. But in terms of building that customer relationship and improving retention, mobile is a crucial element. For me, the telling stories with data thing is important to kind of show why you're doing certain things from a strategic perspective and why it doesn't always have to be 100% about revenue. I think you need to build your brand, you need to improve your retention, and you need to build a community of users who are active in your app first and foremost. And the revenue will come. You'll find ways to monetize those users over time. Yeah, I think, kind of zooming out a little bit, I think just building a community is going to be super important over the next few years. I think, it's not inherent to all apps of like how you could potentially do that, but your messaging strategy, I think getting that like super buttoned up, your branding, just making sure that your app is a place that people can resonate with and people are going to come back time and time again. And I think messaging strategy is such a big component of that kind of gets overlooked sometimes, where we're all super focused on that down funnel message that's going to convert a user, but we're not thinking as much about those messages that are going to make somebody recall your brand, right? Which is kind of a lot of the marketing that's getting kind of like cut out right now, I feel like, is the middle and upper funnel stuff with the laser focus on revenue. And I think, you kind of look at like what Airbnb is doing, right? Like they cut some of their performance, they're focusing on building a brand, and they're seeing like really good performance with that. I think more brands are gonna want to look to that type of structure in the future of like building the brand, building the community, being really on point with how everything is presented to a user, the user experience, the way we communicate with users is going to be crucial going forward, because I think the days of just buying ads on Facebook to build a business are probably over or behind us, or only limited to a certain few industries. And we need to get back to like what marketing was, 10 years ago, which was building a brand and building a community.